Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is the one and only Arbitration Kitchen, episode 5. This is something to keep up the spirits, cook, speak, and eat well. And we hope you're all doing well. Uh, it's me, Roman Zykov, from Moscow, from the Russian Arbitration Association, and we have our special guest today, the mastermind behind this Arbitration Kitchen, Vladimir Khvaley from Moscow, partner Baker McKenzie, and the chairman of the board of the Russian Arbitration Association, etc., etc., etc. Vladimir Khvaley, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure you have lots of surprises tonight. We'll have an interesting conversation ahead of us. I understand that you're staying at your countryside cabin, dacha, with your family in self-isolation.
Yes, correct. I'm staying at my dacha with my family, and I believe it's one of the best time in my life. I never had such healthy style life, probably since Soviet Army. So I'm on a fresh air. I'm walking with my dog every day, 1 hour and a half or 2 hours. I'm eating good fresh food. I don't drink alcohol. Trying not to drink alcohol. So it's a very nice time.
Yeah, it does indeed sound like being in the army, but I hope you're also having fun there. So what are you cooking tonight, Vladimir?
Well, tonight we are going to cook what is called Russian salad. And in Russian, it's known as salad Olivier or salad Stolichny. And the reason I decided to cook it tonight, the reason we decided to do it in English, because there are many versions of so-called Russian salad abroad. I saw it in France, I saw it in Italy, I saw it in Germany, in Austria. But what I saw abroad was not a real Russian salad. So we decided to tell the people what is real Russian salad and prepare, because it's not difficult to prepare, and share the recipe. As I said, in Russia, we call it salad Olivier. It's known as salad Olivier. It sounds a little bit French, and it's not because of mistake. Salad Olivier was invented by a French chef with name Lucien Olivier, who was chef in a famous Russian restaurant in the second half of 19th century called Hermitage. And later on, because of this salad Olivier, this restaurant was even called Hermitage Olivier. This is one of the major restaurants in the second half of 19th century. Very popular, extremely popular as the theater, for example, in Moscow. And after that, this salad became also very, very popular. It changed the recipe through the time, because originally it included, for example, black caviar. And black caviar, of course, was at that time expensive, but now it's extremely expensive, so people couldn't afford black caviar. Or it included wild poultry, or, for example, cancer meat, and some capers. But in Soviet times, it was changed to the products which were more available. For example, cancer meat was changed with carrot, capers were changed with pears, and what else? Black caviar was omitted at all, and wild poultry was changed with poultry or with sausages. We know it's famous in a Soviet Union sausage, which is called doctor sausage. It looks like this. You could still use ham, for example, for it. Some people are doing salad Olivier with fish or without any meat or fish if you're a vegetarian. But I think the classical recipe is with sausage, which is called doctor sausage. And it's not a joke. You know that World Health Organization now called such kind of sausages one of the most dangerous products after cigarettes, for example. But in the 20th century, I think somewhere in 1930s, Joseph Stalin instructed the head of the ministry to develop a special kind of sausage to be a healthy one. Because at that time, people were doing less physical work, more intellectual work. So the instruction was to invent the sausage which should be healthy. So it should not be very fat and consist mainly meat and some useful ingredient. So that's the way how this doctor sausage was invented. Of course, after that time, you know, it became less healthy product because people are doing it very often by using something which you do not normally eat. But that's the way how we do it.
Okay, Vladimir, so
to make salad olivier, you need products which are available generally all around the world. You need 4 potatoes, you need carrot, 4 eggs, onion, pickled cucumbers, and sausage and mayonnaise, as I said. So that's basically it.
yes, 1 big onion. It goes.
1 big onion, yes.
Yes. And do you use mayonnaise or yogurt, or what do you prefer?
Well, in Russia, we normally do with mayonnaise. You could do mayonnaise yourself, but we are normally buying it in the supermarkets. And of course, we need a little bit pears.
Yes.
Small can like this will enough. So in order to start the process, what you do,
Vladimir, maybe you could also give us a few, like briefly say what utensils our viewers would need for tonight's magic. I understand it should be a big pot to boil potatoes.
Yes.
Okay. It's a small pot to boil.
For eggs.
For eggs, yes.
And that's basically it.
Okay, so it's very, very simple. It sounds very simple to me.
Yeah, what you do at the start, you put potatoes to cold water and carrot.
Yes.
And after it starts boiling, keep it for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah, during this process or after that process, we could do, we could also boil eggs. We could do it now, we could do it later. I think we could do it later. In the meantime, what we could do, well, just again, I want to explain the idea behind Russian salad, coming back to Lucien Olivier. When Lucien Olivier initially invented the salad, it served it in a very nice way. So the cucumbers were used mainly as decoration as well as potatoes, and you have black cover on the top and some other ingredients. But what he realized that Russians, when they came to restaurant, they mixed everything up. So what he nicely decorated, so the dish was kind of art, you know, brutal Russians just mix it together and then add. So he thought, okay, if Russians like to do it, let's do it. The idea of Russian salad is that you have various ingredients, various products, you cut in small pieces and then you mix it. So the whole technology is that you have various products and then you cut it on pieces and, you know, and mix it. So while the potatoes are boiling and carrot is boiling, what we could do, we could cut on piece, for example, sausage.
Vladimir, can you point your camera to the magic you're doing there, please? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is not a super sophisticated process. You take your knife, you take your sausage.
Right.
And you cut it on the small pieces.
Okay, so you dice it, and like you said, this sausage can be substituted with boiled meat or ham, smoked ham, or anything you wish to add to make it a bit more meaty. Do you think there is a version for a vegetarian Russian salad, or this is something inconsistent with the Russian nature, being a vegetarian?
Well, it's really depends on vegetarians, because some vegetarians do not eat eggs. And if you do not eat eggs, then you have a problem, because you could omit meat, for example. But if you can't omit mayonnaise.
That's correct, yes.
This is of eggs, unless, of course, you substitute mayonnaise with kind of yogurt. But this dish will have nothing to do with Russian salad.
All right, understood. Vladimir, what's this shirt? It's something national. Is it? Tell us about this outfit. Wonderful shirt. We see you in each episode of the Arbitration Kitchen.
Yeah, this is Belarusian shirt, which is similar like Ukrainian one, and the difference between Belarusian and Ukrainian is that there's a specific print here. This is very traditional Belarusian style. So if you see something like this, it is Belarusian, not Ukrainian. But the problem with Belarus, where I'm from, is that before the beginning of 20th century, Belarus did not have its own state. Belarus was either part of Russia or Rzeczpospolita Polska, so the border was moving all the time. So when we try to crystallize what is traditional Belarusian, sometimes Ukrainian, of course, not Belarusian, it's Ukrainian, Russian saying, no, it's Russian, Polish are saying, no, it's Polish. So it's kind of mix of culture.
Okay, understood. Yeah, for the benefit of this video, you could also make sure that you fit in the monitor, in the camera. If you can, probably just stand behind 1 meter back, well, like this as well.
Yeah, I show you what you've got.
Okay, so you diced.
The smaller you've got, the better it is.
Okay, so you don't have to chew it much. Yeah. How soft is that sausage? Is it very soft, or it's like a boiled meat, or what is this?
Yeah, this is very soft, yeah.
Very soft, okay. Sausage. All right. Okay, well, since we started speaking about your outfit, so what is your apron? It says, I will feed you, Vladimir Khvaley, he will feed you, he will get you drunk, and he will defend you eventually. So what is this about?
Yeah, this is, it was presented by my sister on my birthday.
Okay.
So she's a big fan of myself, so she presented me this nice professional.
Okay, so you seem to have a big family. You have a sister. Do you have brothers?
Well, my parents still live in Belarus.
Yes.
My sister lives here in Moscow. I have 3 nieces, and of course I have my mother-in-law, my wife, and 2 sons.
Okay, and how old are they, your sons?
Well, the older one is 30 years old. He works for bank, one of the Russian banks, and my youngest son is going to be 15 years old. He is still at school.
Okay. Sounds like a bit of a challenge for you to keep up with your work and with the schooling exercises with your younger son. Or it's just, or he is independent enough to take care of his homework himself. Does it work for you?
Sorry, I missed the question, because for me it's very difficult to do things together.
Oh, this is much better. Thank you. Yeah, the question was, how do you cope up with the homework, like schooling and your day job? Is it more challenging for you now, or your kid is grown up enough to?
No, I think he is settled enough to do it.
Yes.
And frankly speaking, if I would try to understand his study, it will be very difficult for me, because we finished chemistry and physics a long time ago, and mathematics. So it's very difficult, and because we are all humanitarians, very difficult to understand what they're doing. And in addition to that, he is studying Chinese language as main foreign language, and my abilities are very, very limited at the best with regard to Chinese.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so I'm continuing to cut.
Okay, pickled cucumbers, salted, or are they with vinegar? What are they?
Sorry?
What are those cucumbers? Are they salted, or the vinegar pickled?
Well,
okay.
Many people like to have salted, but because salted cucumbers are not very popular, as I know, in Europe, so pickled cucumbers easily accessible than salted.
Okay, all right. So it seems like a lot of dicing could be a good family exercise to get to do it together, get around the cooking table and cook together. Someone will dice sausage, someone will dice onions, etc. You can chat. So it's a good family dish, as far as I see. Okay, while you are dicing the ingredients, Vladimir, we have managed to pull out some pictures of yours from your youth, from your army years, from your early work years, etc. So I just wanted to show you some of them. Here's a picture of young and handsome fellows sitting on a Russian military truck. Who are these guys? I see that you are here in the upper right corner.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, what's this? What is this
Well,
army?
I spent 2 years in Soviet Army, as I think majority of people of my age at that time. And frankly speaking, for me, these were one of the two best 2 years in my life, because it was, apart from some, maybe less pleasant things, you're living in a fresh air, you're doing physical exercise, you have relatively reasonable food. And you don't have any headache because of problems, work, office, client, family. This is really nice time.
Okay, where did you serve?
To go again to army on the same condition for 2 years, I would accept without hesitation.
Well, we'll talk about it later. That's pretty much what you do every summer, and we'll see a few more pictures of you. But what is this unit? Is this like ground troops, or who are these guys?
Well, I was a driver of a military truck, big military truck, but I believe the remaining information is still classified.
Okay, that's what we thought, actually. Yes. Well, luckily your face is not blacked out here, so we see it. You changed a little bit, but how old are you here? Is it 18, 17?
Yeah, normally in Soviet Army you went when you were at 18. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Now, in Russian Army, people spend one year, as far as I know.
Okay, good. So it was a lovely year in the army. So
the water is boiling. The water is boiling.
Yes.
With potatoes.
Okay.
So we need to count for 20 minutes.
Do you boil potatoes with the carrot all
Yes.
together in the same bowl? Okay. And it takes the same time to boil for them?
Yes.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I think we could put eggs.
Okay. All right, just like that. 4 eggs. Okay. And this is the dish, you're cooking a dish for 4 persons tonight. Is that correct? So there'll be
more or less some 4 persons here.
Okay, for 4 persons. All right. Well, the eggs are cooking. We have a couple of more questions to you, Vladimir, about your secret youth in the Soviet army. And we see this gentleman with a guitar, and I assume it's you. Tell us about this. What kind of band, what kind of Rolling Stones are these guys?
Well, this is the same people with whom I served, but we had a bit free time and we made some kind of show for ourselves, unfortunately, because there's no, the place where I was serving was not open for public. So we're making shows for our fellow friends. Yeah.
Okay. Was it a regular thing, or it was just like a?
Normally on a big events like New Year party or the Day of Soviet Army or something like that.
Right. So since then, you like you fell in love with singing and karaoke in particular, because I think it's well known across the globe that how you love to sing karaoke. And
well, Roman, this is our little secret. Please reveal all our secrets, okay?
Yes. After you sing it once, Vladimir, it's not a secret anymore. Everyone in town knows that. Okay. So do you still play the guitar, or was some time ago?
Well, actually, I used to play accordion when I was in school, and then I switched to guitar, but these days, no. I couldn't play neither of them.
Okay.
Totally disqualified.
Totally. All right. Okay, good. And what was your rank? Was it a private in the army? Or
Yeah, I was private, yes.
Okay.
I was not smart enough to get more than that.
Okay. Yes. But I see a sergeant or someone on your right-hand side. And do you still stay in touch with the guys?
Yes, sometimes, but not very often.
Okay. All right. Okay. What else do we know about Vladimir Khvale? Okay, we know that you are a snowboarder, not a skier, but a snowboarder.
I used to be a skier, but 20 years ago, I switched to snowboarding.
Okay. And where is this? Is it somewhere?
It's Austria.
Austria.
It's these Alps in Austria.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, we used to go to Austria, and of course, Sochi these days is a good destination, and a lot of people go to the Russian south, Sochi, and some people go to Dagestan or even Far East for a good slope. So this is a snowboard, and you just mentioned that you were in some secret service or secret forces with the Russian army, and actually we can see it on your helmet, which reads three letters there, RED, and some of us may know that it stands for retired but extremely dangerous, and it's awarded to those who just retired from some secret service and to identify themselves as dangerous fellows. Right. How often do you actually go for a good slope?
Every winter.
Every winter.
To spend every winter 2 weeks in mountain, because this is really good for your health, and it's very good for relaxing.
Okay. What else do you do for fun? Any sports?
Yes, I play football. Still, I'm playing football. I'm not a good player, but I like it. Yes, yeah, this is belief. Yeah. A good picture at Baker McKenzie. We have our football team, and we have tournaments between European offices. And I believe it was in 2016 in Brussels when we were the first. And you also see myself. As I said, I have to be honest, I'm a very bad player. But what I could do good, I'm a good manager. I used to play before, then I had a couple of traumas and stopped playing. And then on my birthday, my football team came to me with kind of stick or knut as a present for birthday. And they asked me to come back to the team. And they told me, Vladimir, only you could force us to play. So I returned back to our team. And I did not use my knut or whip to stimulate them to play. There were some other incentives. But the result, you see, we were first. There was a big tournament. There were like 30 teams playing mini football, and we were the first.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So health is an essential part of your work, because you know, there is a rumor that you have a twin brother, because every conference people attend, there's always Vladimir Khvale present, and some of us actually wonder whether there are maybe two, even more Vladimirs, maybe his twin brothers or clones who are.
No, Roman, you know, the question I hear more often is who is working in office, because I'm all the time in the conferences, and I don't want to reveal my secrets that I have slaves who are chained to their notebooks, and they're working day and nights. And then send submissions on behalf of Vladimir Khvale somewhere in the midnight. But besides, I have a very good team of very talented lawyers, and sometimes they need supervision, but mainly they work very well without supervision.
Well, it's very good to know, and I'm also happy to see that there's gender diversity in the football team. You have one lady at least, and photos of a couple of more ladies on the right side of the picture, which is, I understand, one of the primary values in your company to have this gender diversity. And
Yes, it is.
yes, which is, I guess, as we know, one of the hot topics also in arbitration these days, to have well-balanced tribunals, well-balanced representation to the parties. Okay, well, a couple of more pictures. How are we doing with the food? Can you, what's going on there?
Potatoes are boiling with carrot.
Yeah.
Eggs are not boiled yet, but it's close, the water is close to be boiling. And then we need 5 minutes after the water is boiled.
Okay, a couple of more, perhaps a couple of more photos. You want to tell us what these are? So this wonderful off-road vehicle, what is this?
Well, this is off-road competition, which is done once per year, normally at the beginning of June. This year will be in August, called Ladega Trophy. When you go off-road around Ladega Lake, and it takes 1 week to go around the lake. And this is, frankly, one of the best time during the year. Because you go to the place where there's no mobile connection, no internet, no SMS, no emails, nothing. You are in a wild nature, fighting with some difficult conditions. And here I am with my good friend Ilya Nikiforov, who is the managing partner of largest Russian law firm EPAM. So for a couple of years we are together, sharing sometimes tent with him, which made us pretty close friends.
Good, good. Yes, as we know, the rule of thumb in those outdoors is that, you know, the one who falls asleep first wins, because the other one, if the first one snores, then it's almost impossible to fall asleep with the snoring.
Yeah, well, this is why we split our tents recently, you know, so I was sleeping in tents. But I can tell you because of whom, okay?
Yeah, all right. Yes, too much of details, but what's this vehicle behind you? Is it some military vehicle? What is this?
No, it's not. It's this classical English Land Rover.
Okay.
Of course, to upgrade it a little bit, because in a way, although Land Rover still produce very good off-road vehicles, but you still need to upgrade it.
Okay. Very good. And still the military.
Each on a top or on a back, you need to lift a little bit the vehicle. There's some other, you know, tricks you need to do with it, because, you know, normal vehicle will be stuck and will die in mud.
Yes. And the dirtiest vehicle wins, I assume.
Yeah, you need special wheels. Yes.
I mean, the dirtiest vehicle wins the race. Okay, well, and I see this. So it's some sort of a quest, and you travel across the woods and trying to find points of interest and hints, etc.
Yeah, this picture actually shows you go to a specific place where it's very difficult to get, and then you need to pay to make a picture. You see, it's bonus written on a tree, so we need to make a picture of your vehicle and yourself and the tree, and then it will count as bonus to your scores, because you are earning scores every day by doing some difficult exercises.
Right, and you've been doing it for many years, as I understand.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Yes, too much of fun and personal talks, and of course I would like to take this advantage, Vladimir, and ask you several existential questions, of course, about arbitration now, globally, arbitration in our part of the world, Central and Eastern Europe, and perhaps, you know, any ideas about the future and where it takes us. And I'll show you one slide, and the slide will be the statistics of the London Court of International Arbitration, the International Chamber of Commerce, and the Singapore International Arbitration Center for the past pretty much 20 years. And we see some trend here, and it's raising trend, and we see that more and more arbitrations are being commenced with these centers. Can you perhaps give us your analysis, your view on where it takes us, where we are, and what to expect?
Yes, Arman, we talked to Alexei Moore, we talked to Jackie, we talked to Kevin Nash from SIAC. We talk about their caseload, and we show this diagram. Actually, here we combine it together. If you look into global trend, the global trend is that number of arbitration is growing at least in 3 leading arbitration centers. There's also, if you look into this chart, you'll see the peak after the crisis. The last crisis was in 2008, and then you see growth of cases. It's in all 3 institutions. Then it goes a little bit down, and then it goes up again. This is good news for us during arbitration because we could expect more international arbitration cases coming. There's also another pretty important point. When we discussed with Alexei Moore a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned that average amount of dispute arbitration submitted to ICC in 2019 was $141 million. And it's a lot. So I think the global tendency, at least if you look into these 3 institutions, is not only the number of cases is growing, but average amount of disputes is also growing. So these institutions are getting the best part of the pie.
And you mentioned that these are substantial material disputes with high amounts at stake.
Of course, they have minor disputes, minor disputes, for example, by scale of ICC below $2 million or $5 million. But is this again by ICC scale? I believe if you look into market, because we have a lot of middle-sized and small enterprise, and now international markets are open to everyone because of international trade through internet, I believe amount of disputes is much higher, and the average amount of disputes in the market is much less than that.
Okay, well, we'll speak about it later because you will see we have some figures from our recent survey on the New York Convention where we pretty much arrived to the same conclusion. But I want to show you the next slide. This is the Czech Republic. This is the arbitration case filing with the Economic Chamber of the Czech Republic. Any comments on this? Because this is a substantial number of cases. What are those cases, and why is this trend going up and down?
First of all, I believe these cases include also domestic cases.
Okay.
But still, this chart illustrates, you see there's a peak of cases after the last crisis, 2008, 2009. There was significant growth of cases, and then a number of cases dropped significantly. And I'm afraid this is a trend we should see in many Central and Eastern European arbitration institutions.
Right, and exactly that was our find as well, because we also made a comparison of the traditional, well-established, most reputable institutes in Russia, Ukraine, and Poland. And as you can see, the yellow line is attached to Ukraine. The blue one is Russia, and red one is Poland. And it seems that there was a peak, like you said, after the crisis. The cases went up, but now it's a descending trend. The number of cases goes down for some reason. Any thoughts on that?
Again, Roman, just to compare apples to apples, this line for Polish Chamber of Commerce represents international and domestic disputes, while I believe Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Russian Chamber of Commerce chart represents only international disputes. But for the purpose of our discussion, I believe what we could see, indeed, there was a peak of cases after 2008, 2009. Again, it's good news for us during arbitration. And then you see a general trend of lowering number of cases up to now in all 3 institutions, especially in Ukraine. There was peak after 2014. I believe This was mainly caused by disruption in eastern part of Ukraine and break of links with Russia and Russian trade partners. But after that, it was a significant drop of cases. In the meantime, Roman, I think our eggs are already done.
Okay.
We need to put them in a cold water.
Good. In the meantime, we have a question from
Yes.
let me see who that is. From Ekaterina Kobrin, and she is asking whether we should add onion or what should we do with it in general. Yes.
Well, Katya, it's a very good question because onion in here, and onion is the most delicate part of it because Russian salad could go well with onion or without onion. For example, I myself like onion. Of course, we have to cut it in small pieces, but some of members of my family, they do not like onions. So normally what we do, we make Russian salad, and then we could split it in two parts. For example, one part with onion goes to those who like onions, and the other to those who are not do not like onions.
Okay.
But this delicate thing is here, of course, if you have, you know, a kind of
romantic evening.
Romantic evening,
yes.
Should either eat both with onion or neither of you with onion, because otherwise the embryo would not be good for at least one of partners. So
yes.
This, I have onion here, but I'm not cutting it. But what you do normally, you cut also on very small pieces. I believe half of onion would be enough on very small pieces, and then add to the salad. If the onion is bitter, so when you cut it on small pieces, you wash it with water, so it will be less bitter.
Very good. And another question from Ekaterina Kobrin is whether you should or you like to add an apple there, a grated apple. Is that acceptable?
Well, I know that some people are eating apples, some people are eating something else. I don't like apples in Olivier because for me, the taste becomes a little bit acid after apples, so I normally don't do it.
Okay, Ekaterina, thank you for the question, but she gives a disclaimer that there was a joke about apples.
No, it's not a joke. Many people in Belarus are eating apples to Olivier salad, and I don't like it.
Okay, but thank you for your questions, Ekaterina, and lovely to hear you and see that you are doing well. Going back to our slides, Vladimir, I want to torture you a little bit more. I know that you get to answer those on a daily basis, but since I get hold of you, and you're in my court now, I'm going to torture you with more statistics. There was a working group with the Russian Arbitration Association of about 20 people, and we analyzed Russian case law on the recognition and enforcement of foreign arbitral awards. And one of our conclusions was that the majority of cases brought before Russian courts, the majority of international arbitral awards brought for the recognition and enforcement before Russian courts are quite small. And you can see the bottom line here. I hope you see the slide. The majority of cases is for the amount of less than 50,000 euros. And then you see that most of the cases are actually less than, say, 2 million euros. The cases which represent arbitrations involving Russian parties. What do you think? Because the way we see arbitration is that this is a lucrative and high value niche with high value disputes, etc. But the figures illustrate that the majority of arbitrations are for a much fewer interest. What do you think about this?
Roman, this is a very good chart because it shows what in reality international arbitration market is. Because when you go to conference, by the way, I think potatoes are ready. And we also need to cool them down.
By the way, are potatoes peeled already, or you will peel them after you boil them?
Sorry?
By the way, speaking of potatoes, the bread and butter of our dish tonight, are they peeled, or you will peel them after you boil them?
I'll do it after that. Yeah.
Okay.
But
So,
just you need
and
to,
I assume the same concerns the carrot you're boiling. It's not peeled.
next.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Coming back to the slide. What I'm often saying at international conferences or arbitrations, that people who are attending these conferences are living in a kind of luxury world because we are all dreaming and we are involved in a pretty large cases over 5 million, 10 million, 50 million US dollars, but a lot of minor cases, and they are still important for the companies which are involved in these cases. And these cases normally escape our attention because they're done in-house by people who probably never did arbitration before.
Okay, so you're saying that most of the companies are targeting larger arbitrations and have this not a wrong, but a not fully correct perception of the arbitration market, because the majority of cases are for the small amounts. Do you think the institutes should somehow adapt to that as well by offering any cost-efficient solutions? I don't know, fast-track arbitrations online, whatever.
Well, Roman, you're right. If you think about the amount of disputes and the nature of disputes, then you will see that major part of the disputes are simple delivery contracts with a relatively small amount in dispute. What does it mean? It means that for resolving such kind of disputes, you need more simplified procedure. You don't need very complicated procedure with disclosure, written witness statement, terms of reference, and stuff like that. Because if you have 100,000 US dollars at stake, it's a straight delivery of contract, and the other party did not pay you, you don't need complicated procedure. You need to have, very fast and efficient vehicle, being online or be offline, but it needs to be, fast and efficient. That, I believe, what market needs. And unfortunately, although many institutions are working in this direction, I still believe that procedure sometimes is overcomplicated. And what is worse is that many arbitrators are trying to apply the same template for various type of disputes. So they have template which was developed for large complicated disputes, and they're trying to use it for small disputes. And I think this is not correct approach. Yes, this I believe also very good chart because it comes from the same study. 72% of disputes are coming from sales of goods. So these are not complicated shareholders agreement or M&A transactions. These are simply delivery of goods. And if you combine it with previous chart, it will give you an idea. 80–90% of disputes are delivery of goods. Disputes with a relatively small amount in dispute.
Okay, so they require simply a procedural solution, a faster and more cheaper arbitration. And by saying that, I think young arbitrators could play a larger roles in those disputes because more experienced, more senior arbitrators are not ready to take up on small assignments. And this could be something that the younger arbitrators could try to get some practice. And it was an interesting and easy entry point into the arbitrator's profession. There's one more chart I wanted to show you. How are you doing with the food, Vladimir?
Yeah, I'm trying
to on there.
X.
Okay, so you just peel X. Yes, but by the way, when I was young, we used that peel, the shell, X shell, and planted it under the apple trees for some reason as a fertilizer. And I believe we thought that it fertilizes and brings some calcium to the soil. And I don't know how you use it. Do you have a how do you recycle the garbage, by the way, in your cottage? You take it to the city, or you have any recycling facility next to you? Do you separate garbage? How is it done in Russia in any way, event?
Well, unfortunately, in Russia, we are very far from having good recycling system for waste. So we are trying to separate what we can separate, but we are still not really advanced in it.
Okay, so you're peeling eggs, then you'll dice them and add to the bowl with the other ingredients. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, your hands are busy. I'm not going to show you any more slides at the moment, but so speaking about arbitration, where do you think is the potential for growth in terms of the number of cases which can be administered by the institutes? Where would they come from?
Well, first of all, I do believe that cases could come from small and middle-sized disputes. And I honestly believe that the market is huge for it. Just to give you an idea, Russian state courts are considering each year more than 1 million commercial disputes. More than 1 million commercial disputes. And if you look into statistics for enforcement of arbitral awards, domestic arbitral awards, if you count all institutions, it will give you less than 1,000. So 0.1% of total market only goes to arbitration courts for many reasons. But this is potential market. So what institution could gain? They could attract more middle-sized and small disputes. First of all, if they continue to develop technologies for online dispute resolution, we should make dispute resolution cheaper.
Yes, Vladimir, can you tilt the camera a little bit back so we can see how tall you are? Just tilt the camera back a little bit. We don't see it.
Okay.
All of you, yes, it should be much better now. So you say that the institutes could source more arbitration cases from the cases which are potentially taken to the state courts. It could be small disputes and.
Yes, or go to mediation, for example.
Or mediation, okay.
Mediation is kind of reply to a situation when arbitration and litigations becomes very expensive. I don't know whether you notice or not, but mediation is very popular in common law countries. It's less popular in continental law countries because litigation in continental Europe is less expensive than in common law countries. And one of the reasons for it is the procedure. Because although procedure for dispute resolution in common law countries is perfect, like Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce is perfect car, but not everyone could afford Rolls-Royce.
Right.
Or you need something maybe less reliable, but less expensive for middle-sized and small amount disputes. And this is what comes with inquisitorial style of proceedings. And this is why I'm a big fan of inquisitorial style of proceedings as opposed to, common law style.
Yes, and we have a question about that as well, believe it or not. I'm now displaying a slide which depicts the division of various legal systems across the globe. If you look at the, for the viewers of this evening show, if you look at the display now, you'll see the globe, you'll see the map of the world.
You see, I cut it X?
Yes.
I added to the symbol.
Good. Yes, if you look at the map, you'll see that there are countries marked in blue, red, yellow, and brown. And those marked in blue are the countries of the civil law system, Romano-Germanic or continental system of law. The red countries are the common law system countries. And indeed, as Vladimir said, it seems that geographically and population-wise, the majority of the nations across the globe adopted the continental system of law. And this is might be the idea why the inquisitorial process may come in use in those countries for smaller disputes and also for simple sales of goods disputes. Vladimir, I don't know.
In the meantime, I'm peeling potatoes because now they're cold.
Okay, good.
You could take skin out of them.
Okay, how do you do it?
With knife.
Okay.
It's not difficult.
Yes. It should be a good army drill, isn't it? Peeling potatoes.
No.
No.
It's not as difficult. Once they're boiled and then cooled, it goes pretty easy.
Okay, very good. Vladimir, I don't know if you hear as well, but we are discussing the division of various legal systems across the globe, and it seems that the continental legal system dominates in terms of the geography and the countries with most population. And perhaps you want to tell us a little bit about the project you were behind, the Prague rules, the rules on the efficient conduct of the arbitration proceedings. As far as I know, it was awarded by the Global Arbitration Review as the Innovation of the Year back in 2019. It's a rather controversial project because not many people share the view on how to run the procedure in this way, but maybe you want to say a few words about that.
Yes.
Well, after you peel the
I'll be cutting potatoes and explaining how the idea was born.
Okay.
It was born in the framework of ICC Advanced Arbitration Academy. This is a project to train young arbitrators. So we started for Central and Eastern Europe, and I remember that we were sitting in Prague a couple of years ago with the people from Central and Eastern Europe, and we were discussing evidence. And people were from Czech, Poland, Romania, Russia, Ukraine, from various countries. And then we were sitting drinking wine or beer, I can't remember. And then somebody asked a question. I mean, I do not understand why we have a dispute between, if you have dispute between Czech company and Russian company, why we should use IBA rules of taking evidence? Because IBA rules of taking evidence was designed to be a bridge between common law and civil law system when companies from two universes, if you want, meet in one arbitration. So inevitably, IBA rules of taking evidence, they have some common law features like disclosure, for example, of documents, written witness statements and stuff like that. So this person asked, I mean, why in a dispute between two companies from civil law world, we have to use some kind of common law features. Why we cannot use simply inquisitorial style proceedings? And the answer to it seems to me was easy, because there's no alternative at that time. Because IBA rules was the only document which was referred in international arbitration as kind of standard of arbitration, and people were using it by default without even thinking whether it fits to a particular dispute or not. So at that time, the idea was born to develop the rules of procedure, which will be based on purely inquisitorial model. But while we started to work on it, and there was a huge group of people, like 30 people from various countries who joined this group, we realized when we analyzed the rules that in fact inquisitorial system is more efficient than common law system. Because it consists of several features which makes it more efficient and less expensive. For example, in civil law countries, you don't have written witness statement. Enormous time is spent on preparing written witness statements, but at the end of the day, at least in civil law countries, we don't really give significant weight for witnesses. We more trust the documents rather than witnesses. And it's interesting, if you look into recent report of ICC Commission, Arbitration Commission, on increasing probative value of witness statements, if you read this report in essence says what we do in common law countries is wrong, because you cannot talk to the witness before witness testify. You cannot prepare a written witness statement because it distorts witness memory. Or disclosure, for example. I've been in many arbitration, and as ICC vice president, I read many ICC awards, but it's another exception when disclosure really changed the game in arbitration proceedings. But parties spend a lot of time on it. I just want to show Roman that
Yes.
Potatoes?
Potatoes and something else. Eggs? Other
Eggs, yes, and now I open,
green beans.
yes,
Green peas. Okay. Yes.
peas, yeah. We take out water
Yes.
and add it to this mess.
Okay. So it looks very substantive to me. It's probably feeling well. A couple of good spoons of that salad, and you can call it
Yeah.
a dinner.
You don't
Yeah.
need to add salt. Normally,
Okay.
because they're pickled cucumbers, they're salty. So then you mix it. Again, the pieces, some pieces are pretty large.
Yes.
Because for me it's very difficult to cook and do it at the same time. But in essence, this is what you call Russian salad. As I said, I do not add onions,
Mm-hmm.
but you are adding mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. Okay. Okay. For our viewers, for the benefit of our viewers, we also have this chat page in this live streaming video, where our assistants, well, wonderful colleagues from the Russian Arbitration Association, walk us step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, what you should do in order to cook the salad. And now it's step 10, mix everything together and add mayonnaise. Okay. In the meantime, Vladimir, we have a question, and we'll get back to the Prague rules, but we have a question about Russia. Ekaterina Grivnova is asking, is there anything that we as arbitration practitioners can do to bring arbitration back to Russia? And back in the brackets means that can we what should we do?
You know, the major problem currently in Russia is so-called Russian arbitration reform. Because as Alexander Muranov rightly called it, this is not reform, this is arbitrocide, arbitrate as a genocide, you know.
Arbitrocide, okay.
What the government did, because government said there was abuse of arbitration in Russia, indeed there was abuse. Russia adopted a law under which only licensed institutions are allowed to administer disputes. And they gave a license only a few institutions, very close to the government under direct control of the government. And as a result, number of arbitrations in Russia decreased by 10 times after this arbitration reform started, 10 times.
How do you know that?
By statistics, you analyze number of enforcement cases, and the number of enforcement cases decreased 10 times, which means that number of arbitration decreased 10 times. So they prohibited, you know, as they call good or bad institutions, but they did not bring anything good to it. So I think the major task now is to grow awareness and bring this message to the government that the reform, as it was done, was a big mistake. And because government could not create market. And this licensing system should be abolished. That's only thing we can do.
That's where we are, but what should we do? Should we change the system, or should we? It's not about just arbitration institutes, I would think, but something else extra.
Well, Roman, as you know, what we see now in Russia it's called etatization, meaning the growing role of the state everywhere, and of course arbitration did not escape it. So, Roman, I've done with my salad.
Yes, that's very good.
Onion, but that's the way how Russian salad normally looks.
Okay. How do you serve it? Just in a bowl?
You put it on the table and then you cook it to people in a plate.
Do you need any bread with that, or any side dish?
No.
No.
Russian salad goes as it is, perfect by its own.
Okay, well, that was very fast, Vladimir, but I still have a few questions. And
Yes.
yes, so this is the Prague rules. So you're saying that we would be better off for smaller disputes, straightforward disputes, if the arbitral tribunals had more powers or be more active in the process. Do you think that would be a bit of a prejudice to one of the parties if the tribunal is, because if the tribunal is active, one party is kind of prejudiced?
Well, I'll tell you something. The essence of inquisitorial style is the tribunal should express earlier its view on party's position and really drive the proceedings. And some people are saying, well, tribunal should not express its view on my position before I present fully my case. But reality is the tribunal has position already after initial submissions of the parties. Tribunal doesn't express its position, but tribunal has it. You're also sitting as arbitrator as myself. After you read request for arbitration and answer to request for arbitration, you have already picture. You have already questions. And it's good to the parties to ask this question from the very beginning to show you what is your preliminary view on the case. And I ask many in-house counsel, and I ask them, if you're going to lose the case, would you prefer to know about it as early as possible or as late as possible? And normally in-house counsel saying, yes, we will prefer to know as early as possible. It will allow us to settle it, right? If you ask lawyers from law firms, like ourselves, doing this business, would you prefer to lose the case as early as possible to know that you're going to lose, or as late as possible? We are saying, well, as late as possible, because it would allow us to bill all our time, right? And make fortune of what we are doing. So I think there's a big need for more active role of the tribunal to express its early view on a case. It makes proceedings more transparent, more predictable, and more efficient. Of course, lose some control over process, but you have to sacrifice.
Okay, but it also requires the tribunal to read the papers from the very beginning, which we don't see that often these days.
Exactly, and I think this is another problem in arbitration, because these days arbitration is overcrowded with old arbitration stars, and they're overtraded. They're getting more and more cases and they don't have time to read it. So in order to change the system, we need to add more young blood into it by appointing new and young arbitrators. And this should be done by institutions. They are doing it. They're trying to appoint more and more young arbitrators, but I think they should do more. Because for parties, it's very difficult to appoint young arbitrator because they don't know whom to appoint. It's very risky, blah, 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 but institutions should do it.
Okay, I see. We have time for questions and answers. If ladies and gentlemen, dear participants of tonight's show, you can use the questions and answer button at the bottom of your screen, or you can use the chat room to ask Vladimir the question you wouldn't be able to ask otherwise. And Vladimir promised that he will answer all the questions today. So please ask your question, if there are any. In the meantime, while you're typing or coming up with a question, I just wanted to bring your attention to the fact that we decided to use this platform for something good and guide people and ask people to make their donations to the World Health Organization to fight the disease. A lot of people are in trouble these days. We don't know the extent of the problem of the pandemics, and I'm sure that the international organizations or any local organizations or any good charity funds in your city or your country could use some of the donations, some good money to fight the disease and other problems, which they are many today. But we decided to post this slide here with the link to the World Health Organization, especially organized fund fighting COVID-19. We know that a lot of people are on the front line fighting the disease, and we wish them and all of you to stay and keep safe. I see one question, something. Vladimir, do you think the terms of reference is essential? Asks Natalia Kuznetsova. the terms of reference?
Well, terms of reference is a very good tool, and under ICC rules, very useful for majority of disputes under ICC rules. For large, complicated disputes, I think ICC terms of reference is an excellent tool because it allows tribunal and parties concentrate on what exactly they want to achieve, how they're going to achieve, and so on and so forth. But for small disputes, they are not essential. This is why under expedited rules, and I'll tell you I was one of the drafters of provisions of expedited rules in ICC, and I proposed to abolish terms of reference for expedited procedure, and it was accepted by working group working on the rules. And now, as you know, small cases below 2 million under ICC rules go without terms of reference.
Okay. We seem to have no further questions, but of course I have a question to you, Vladimir. What's the future when we overcome this the restrictions? When the restrictions will be relaxed, what's the future of arbitration? What's the future of the legal profession of dispute resolution lawyers? Will you see there will be any changes, or there's a need for changes? What do you think?
I think the world is moving to online international trade, and it's inevitable that arbitration will also go to online platforms, and it will not matter where you're sitting in US, in Canada, or Russia, or in Georgia. You could do arbitration sitting somewhere in the office, or on your dacha. If you have ability to do it, if you have capacity and skills. So I think it opens a room for young lawyers who are big fan of arbitration. If they could show to arbitration communities they're able to resolve disputes in a quick and efficient manner. What we are missing here, we have a growing market on our side, for resolving small, middle-sized disputes online in a quick and efficient manner. We have a growing generation of very talented young practitioners who want to do it. We are missing here a link. Once we have this link, we'll have boom of online arbitrations with a lot of young people involved. And if you look into what's going on around the world, more and more institutions are looking in this direction and trying to be in this link. This is the future of arbitration, I'm pretty sure. Roman, we cannot hear you.
Yes, this is the downside of online arbitration, that if you don't turn on your microphone, then your case fails. So thank you. So there's a wonderful question from Alexandra Shmarko, who asks, Vladimir, please give us 1, 2, 3 steps for younger lawyers to build their career in international arbitration. Please be concise, Vladimir. Thank you.
Yeah, very concise. Actually, there are 2 rules how to become popular lawyer, or successful lawyer, if you want. First, you need to be the best. And second, people should know that you're the best. Those are 2 golden rules. So if you want to do arbitration, you need to be best in arbitration. And secondly, people should know that you're best in arbitration. How do people could know that you're best in arbitration? By writing articles, by speaking at conferences, by participating in discussions. You need to promote yourself. I'm telling in my arbitration academy to my students, ICC Arbitration Academy, God sees everyone. But if you want God to see you first, you need to jump. You need to jump all the time. And then you have more chances that God will see you. So continue jumping. If you're a young, talented lawyer, continue jumping, and that one day God will see you and you'll get first appointment as arbitrator, and then you're on track.
So literally saying they should be more active, write, read, speak out, participate in initiatives like the Russian Arbitration Association, any other association in their home country, and just try to make a difference. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes, okay. A question comes from Patricia Shaughnessy from Sweden. Hello, Patricia, good to see you here. Vladimir, do you think that Russian courts will enforce awards where the hearing was held online over the objections of a party, or where the party objected to some of the logistics of the online arrangements? Will it be enforceable, in your opinion?
I believe it will be enforceable. I know that now a lot of people are talking that online hearing is not the same as hearing in person, but first of all, there's no requirement under the law or arbitration rules to have hearing in person. And if you look into many arbitration rules, they provide that the hearing could be held either in person or by telecommunication or by video conference. So when the parties are agreeing to arbitration rules, they already agreed to have it by video conference, for example. Secondly, and I think it's more important, now courts in every country are facing the same situation, i.e. they need to do it online because of coronavirus situation. And because they're doing online, they understand there could be some problems with it. There will be some party abusing their right for fair trial, if you want, or fair defense. And I think courts will have more sympathy to tribunals which are conducting the hearing online, nevertheless. And the courts will not have sympathy to the parties trying to abuse enforcement of their vote, relying on some technical grounds. Like, we did not see the witness, maybe somebody was sitting behind the witness and showing what to say or not to say. We did not see whether the witness had an air plug or something like that. I don't think that courts will buy such kind of arguments.
Right, and the Russian courts are quite IT friendly in terms of what they use. And Patricia, we've just witnessed the Russian Supreme Court holding a hearing over some WhatsApp or some internet video link, not protected, nothing. Very simplified procedure. So it seems that the Russian courts understand the hurdles of the situation now and are ready to adapt to the new IT technologies. Any other questions? Yes, I see one question about Anastasia Konovalova asking, Vladimir, what do you think about the perspectives of mediation, especially the commercial mediation in Russia?
Well, there's a huge area for commercial mediation because there are businesses where you cannot live without mediation. For example, we in Russian Association, we signed an agreement with Russian Agency for Venture Investments. If you look into venture business, they had a lot of not disputes, but controversies between business target and investors, whether milestones were achieved, were not achieved, whether the financing should be provided or not. These disputes today go nowhere, frankly, because it's nightmare to go to state courts with such kind of disputes to Russian judges. And because of arbitration is now almost prohibited, it doesn't go to arbitration. This is a big room for mediation. Somebody very experienced in this venture business could talk to the investor, to the target company and telling, okay, guys, let's agree on this and that, so we'll move forward to the benefit of both parties. So certainly areas, or for example, construction industry, where we know that in England, for example, you cannot go with construction dispute to the court before you go through adjudication. So there are many industries, or in software development, for example. So there are many industries where it's much better to resolve disputes through mediation rather than through litigation or arbitration, certainly.
Okay, very good, especially if you get an international mechanism such as the Singapore Convention to recognize and enforce the mediation agreements. Vladimir, but there is opposition from several our viewers with respect to the Prague rules, and I will quote, which is interesting. Maybe you could discuss. Wolf-Gordon Hauser is saying, "Dear Vladimir, I would very much recommend to avoid term inquisitorial in connection with the Prague rules. I know that this is the technical term, which we learned, but it sounds highly alarming to common law practitioners. Maybe you could replace it by arbitrator driven or something like that, Best regards, Wolf from Austria. Thank you very much, Wolf, for your question. Vladimir, your observation.
Well, yes, this is exactly to the point. The first version of the Prague rules was called the rules for inquisitorial proceedings. And then many people from common law countries said, well, we like the approach, but we don't like the name. Because inquisitorial for them is strongly associated with torture. So it's like tribunal, torturing the parties and making them pain and so on and so forth. Well, in civil law countries, we don't have allergy of the term inquisitorial because we know that our proceedings is inquisitorial. It's a legal term. But for our friends from common law countries, we decided not to use the word inquisitorial. You never find it in Prague rules. We call it rules of efficient conduct of arbitration, something like that. Or the Prague rules. Yeah.
Okay.
So dispute how to call the rules then, whether call it European rules of evidence or whatever. We decided to call it in Prague because the idea was born in Prague and we signed it in Prague.
Yes. So you don't see the inquisitorial in the title of the rules anymore. Is that what you're saying?
You don't see in the title of the rules, and you don't see the word in the rules inquisitorial.
Okay. Okay. I hope Wolf,
we're talking about active role of the tribunal.
Yes.
In establishing the facts.
Yes. So marketing is everything these days. Lilia Klachenko, we have actually a string of other questions, like many other questions here. Also a reminder from our organizers that it's been already 1 hour and 15 minutes. And some people perhaps want to bite, but I will dare to ask a few more questions, Vladimir, from your permission. Maybe 3 more questions. Will that be all right for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Well, first of all, the ICC-related questions. There's a question from Alexandra Shmarko, and she's interested if you could share how did you become the ICC, the vice president of the ICC court? What took you there?
Yeah, this is a question I had many times, and my answer is I don't know. I don't know how technically I was appointed as vice president because one day I received a call from John Beachy, who was at that time the president of ICC court. He called me and said, Vladimir, we are revisiting list of vice president. Would you be willing to accept position of ICC vice president? And of course, I said no. I said yes. And then half of the day, I was thinking how it came that he called me and made this offer. So I don't know.
All right. So you were jumping high enough so the gods saw you. All right. We got that. Okay. And then a follow-up question from Anik Gvinadze from Georgia, from Tbilisi. He is asking, with all your ICC court experience, Vladimir, are you not considering to run for the court presidency? Best wishes from Tbilisi, Nick Gvinadze.
Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you very much for your suggestion. Well, as you know, Alexei Mur already said that he's going to step down next year. There's election committee for selecting new president of ICC court. I am member of the election committee, and I committed not to offer myself as candidate for this position. But frankly speaking, I'm delighted that you are giving such idea, but I have a lot of things to be done here in Russia.
Thank you, Vladimir. Another institutional question, which seems to be very interesting to me personally. Norbek Sabirov is asking, in your opinion, about the establishment of the internal appeal within arbitration institution. Does it make sense, or does it not make sense to have an appeal instance for arbitration?
It depends. We know that in some institutions there is kind of appeal, at ICSID, for example, or sport arbitration. In commercial arbitration, you normally don't see it. But what you have, for example, in ICC, you have scrutiny process when draft awards are scrutinized by court members and by secretariat, which is kind of internal control. It certainly does have a sense for big scale disputes. So if you ask me, well, Russian Arbitration Association, I believe in the first rules, before we were denied to administer it, there was a provision that dispute above certain amount could be appealed to the board of Russian Arbitration Association. There is still lack of trust to arbitration, especially in big cases, and especially for young institutions, not really such well known as ICC. So having appeal mechanism will increase confidence to this institution. But again, for the dispute above a certain level, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. There is another question, and probably will be the final one. It comes from Irina Strelkovskaya. Irina, hello. Vladimir, what do you think about maintaining confidentiality during online hearings, including Zoom, for example, and other? So what happens to an award which is not confidential anymore, or hearings were not confidential anymore?
Well, there's nothing confidential these days, frankly speaking. You could use any means of telecommunication. You could call on your mobile, you could use Skype, you could use Zoom, but there are people, and I believe there are a lot of conferences on that, who will tell you how they could get access to it. So, I mean, recently, I believe we had a discussion on it, and my colleague asked how to get confidentiality. I told him, look, if you want to have confidentiality in arbitration, you need to have typing machines, mechanical typing machines, without using computers and internet, because once you put it on internet, you're at risk that it will be copied. And if you have full confidentiality, you need to have hearing in a swimming pool, just to make sure that no one will have recording device to record what you are saying. Reality is you cannot achieve absolute confidentiality, and when you do it, you accept certain risks. Of course, you should take measures to protect confidentiality, but you cannot achieve it absolutely. That's the reality.
Okay, and then the arbitrators should send the awards by pigeon post, I guess.
Yes.
Well, Vladimir, thank you very much for your time. Can we once again have a glance at your wonderful Russian salad, please? If it's still there. Okay, so everyone, thank you for being with us today. We cooked with Vladimir Khvaley, the partner with Becker McKenzie Moscow and the chairman of the board of the Russian Arbitration Association. We cooked Russian salad, which is very simple to cook, which is very filling, tasty. Please try to cook it yourself, enjoy it, exercise, have nice walks outside, eat well, and stay safe. Thank you very much for your time. This will appear on YouTube soon. Until then, goodbye. Thank you, Vladimir.
Thank you, Roman. Bye-bye. Bye-bye to everyone.